for more of an in-depth look now, we're joined by Allan Friedman, visiting scholar at the Cybersecurity Policy Research Institute at George Washington University and longtime researcher on information security and privacy. Allan, thanks for joining us.
Happy to be here.
When we look at the president's speech today, let's look at the big picture. How significant were the changes that he announced?
Well, I don't think anyone expected the president to sort of abolish the NSA today, and he didn't. What he did say was he communicated reform is important, and this is just the beginning.
But on the face of it, it doesn't look like much has changed. The fundamental spy structure of the NSA remains in place.
True. The fundamental structure remains in place. The NSA's core mission, which is to gain foreign intelligence for national interests, remains there. Probably the biggest improvement is there are going to be a few more grown-ups in the room who are keeping an eye on things.
One of the things we heard from the president was that he's now going to try and put the onus on retaining telephone records on the telephone companies.
Well, the important thing is that he's going to try to get the data out of the hands of the NSA. So at the time, for a while, the claim was, well, we weren't collecting the data because we weren't looking at it, and we were just gathering it into the US government, in the intelligence community, and people were quite bothered by that, naturally. So now the solution is, well, we're still going to have access to it, but it won't be held by the government. It will be held by either some third party or will be held by the phone companies and the internet companies themselves.
Right, you make a great point there, because I heard an expression just a short while ago, which I think encapsulates it all, when I heard it's, the United States is data rich, but knowledge poor.
You know, we're not that short for knowledge either. The challenge that we've had to deal with since 9/11 is how do you find an incredibly small number of people? And that's really been the focus of all these programs is there are so few terrorists out there, fortunately, that it's very hard to find them. And so our solution has been we're going to throw a lot of data at the problem, and then we're going to throw a whole lot of computers at the problem to see if they can solve the problem for us.
What about his, I guess, concessions on spying on foreign leaders? He said they're not going to be spying on foreign leaders any longer. So do you think people like Angela Merkel will be sleeping a little better tonight?
You know, I think they will. First, that set of revelations was pretty interesting. I think Obama couldn't resist a little tweak by saying, listen, some people said they were surprised and they were doing the same thing. But I think Obama really did move us in a slightly different direction by saying, listen, for trusted friends and allies, we can maintain a good relationship without having this sort of adversarial relationship where we have to spy on each other.
But he didn't say who the trusted allies are.
He did not. And of course, you can't say that because as soon as you start naming people, everyone not on the list will want to know why that they're not invited to the party.
Nor did he say that he will stop spying on the people, say, that Angela Merkel speaks to.
No. And again, he emphasized as what he's saying that privacy is really important. We need to judge what we're doing, but the job of the American government is to protect the American people.
Right, and what about privacy protections for foreigners?
So I was impressed by that. I think that was something that, as the president pointed out, this isn't something that any nation really extends to others. We're not going to give, U.S. full citizenship rights to everyone in the world, but what we will do is we'll stop treating their data so cavalierly. We'll put some protections around it. We'll require more judicial intervention before we can really dive into the data, and we'll put some more legal protections around it.
But here's the problem, Allan. Everything is done in secret. He mentioned this panel of public advocates, but these things are going to be done in private, in secret.
It's true, and he's tried to move towards some transparency. For example, he's going to allow companies to share information about how much information they share with the government. That's something that Silicon Valley was really pushing for. Similarly, he said, we're going to try to take the important secret court decisions and publicize those, perhaps in a slightly clean way, but we want to be more transparent about what we're doing. But again, this is still the intelligence community. It's still something that you can't just share with everyone if you want to achieve your goal.
You know, something he mentioned today in his speech, which didn't get a lot of attention, he mentioned something where he said, look, we also want to prevent Americans' bank accounts from being infiltrated by foreign networks, etc. We want to prevent the kind of commercial infiltration that we see. But we've just seen a big department store here in the United States, Target, over 100 million accounts infiltrated there. Neiman Marcus, another big company, infiltrated there.
Well, and of course,
all the surveillance has not helped at all.
Well, so we have different levels of protection about what they're worried about. So certainly in cyberspace, monitoring is seen as one of the keys to defense. You will never be able to stop every attack, so you want to learn as much as possible what's going on. So for example, you may not be able to prevent someone from stealing a giant pile of credit card numbers, but maybe you can learn about how they're trying to use them and detect that kind of behavior and stop the actual value being extracted. Numbers are bad to lose, money in a bank's even worse, company secrets worse still.
Okay, 5 seconds. Would any of this be happening if it weren't for Edward Snowden?
Obama said it was a project that had been long running, but no, Snowden clearly brought this to the forefront and put it on the agenda.
Allan Friedman, thanks for joining us.